During an argument, my fiance sneered, "You think you're my only option?" I said, "Nope." Then I did something she never saw coming. She stopped laughing when she found out. All right, Reddit. This whole mess started about 6 months ago, but I'm just now getting around to posting it. Was engaged to a chick who thought she could treat me like a dog because she's pretty. You think you're my only option? I can wrap whoever I want around my little finger. So I made sure she had those options, nuked everything, and watched her lose her mind. Later, she tried to baby trap me with someone else's baby. Here's what went down. I'm a 28 male crane operator. Union job, solid benefits, zero debt, and I can position a 300-ton load with the precision of a surgeon. We're talking about moving steel beams 60 stories up while dealing with crosswinds that would make a pilot nervous. Not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps me in truck payments. Base pay is $78,000, but with overtime, I was pulling close to $95,000 last year. I like my life simple, organized, and drama-free. Well, Allison was the opposite of all that. She was 26, looked like every Instagram influencer's little sister, and worked part-time at some boutique called Sage and Crystals that sold overpriced candles to suburban moms having midlife crises. Her monthly income was about as consistent as Chicago weather. Sometimes $800, sometimes $200. Mostly just disappointment and excuses about slow retail seasons. The rest of her time was spent on content creation, which is millennial speak for standing in good lighting and talking about absolutely nothing while holding products she didn't pay for. Her follower count was stuck at 847 for 2 years straight, but she kept treating it like she was one viral TikTok away from retiring my crane. She'd spend hours setting up ring lights and filming herself applying lip gloss while talking about authentic living and finding your purpose. We'd been together 3 years, engaged for 8 months. I know, big mistake, but it is what is it. The engagement ring cost me 3 months' salary, a 2.3 carat princess cut from K Jewelers that she picked out herself naturally. Had to be at least 2 carats because anything smaller would be embarrassing in photos. The wedding was scheduled for September 15th at some country club venue that charged $180 per plate. Deposits paid, the whole 9 yards. The first year was actually good. She was sweet, funny, had this way of making even grocery shopping feel like an adventure. She'd do this fake innocent voice when she wanted something, batting her eyelashes like she was auditioning for a 1950s sitcom. I'll admit, back then it worked. She'd cook occasionally, actually seemed interested in my work stories, and we'd binge watch entire seasons of shows together. But once that ring hit her finger, something shifted. Suddenly she was a bride-to-be, which apparently meant her only job was planning our wedding while I funded literally everything else. She joined every Facebook wedding group, subscribed to 4 different bridal magazines, and started treating Pinterest like it was her full-time career. Her contribution to our relationship became posting Instagram stories about having a real man who treats her right, and calling herself future Mrs. Brown in her bio. Meanwhile, I was covering rent, $1,000 to $850 for a 2-bedroom, utilities, $200 to $300, groceries, $400 to $500, car insurance, $280 for both of us, phone bills, $150 for the family plan, wedding expenses, and basically everything else that kept her princess lifestyle afloat. She'd pull this move where she'd Venmo me later for dinner dates. A $85 steak dinner became, "Oops, I forgot to send that." A $120 shopping trip turned into, "I'll get you back next week." Later became, "Oops, I forgot." Then it just became normal. I was paying for everything while she collected likes on photos of the life I was funding. To give credit where it's due, she kept the apartment clean early on and always hyped me up in front of her friends. She knew exactly when to butter me up after a rough day on the job site. I'd come home exhausted from operating equipment in 95-degree heat, and she'd have a cold drink waiting and actually listen to me vent about incompetent ground crews or weather delays. But even then, red flags were popping up like whack-a-mole. She'd trash-talk her own friends behind their backs, especially the ones with boyfriends who had regular jobs. "Sam's guy looks like he stocks shelves at Home Depot," she'd say while scrolling through Facebook. Meanwhile, I'm literally operating heavy machinery 40 stories up, coordinating with engineers and making split-second decisions that could kill someone. But apparently that's different, because I wear a hard hat instead of a suit. Her family situation was peak suburban dysfunction. Her mom, Isabel, treated Allison like she was some kind of displaced royalty, constantly gushing about the wedding, asking when we were going to start having kids, dropping hints about upgrading to a bigger house. She'd corner me at family dinners and go on these 20-minute monologues about how Allison deserves the best and how a real man provides for his family. Her dad seemed cool enough, quiet HVAC guy named Jim, who probably just wanted to make it to retirement without a stroke. He'd nod along to whatever Isabel was saying while mentally calculating how many years he had left before escape velocity. At least he appreciated that I had a solid trade. We'd talk shop about construction and building codes, and he'd give me these looks like he understood what I was dealing with. Her brother Andrew was the only one with common sense, though. He's a mechanic, good dude who runs his own shop, and he'd been dropping subtle warnings about Allison since we started dating. "Watch your wallet around her," he'd say with a laugh that wasn't really a laugh, especially after you put a ring on it. I should have listened, but you know how it is when you're in the middle of it. I wasn't completely miserable, though. I had a plan brewing. My buddy Cole had been trying to get me to move in with him for months. Let's say that plan got accelerated real quick. Thursday rolled around like any other day. I came home from work covered in concrete dust and crane grease, looking forward to a shower and maybe some Netflix. We'd been dealing with a particularly difficult steel placement all week, a 40-story office building downtown where the architect apparently thought gravity was optional. I was exhausted, my back was killing me, and I just wanted to decompress. Instead, I walked into Hurricane Allison at full strength. She was pacing around the living room like a caged animal, phone in hand. Wedding magazines were scattered across the coffee table. She had her laptop open with 17 different tabs showing destination wedding venues. "We're going to Cabo," she announced, not even looking up from her phone. "What?" "My cousin's wedding. It's in Cabo. 5 days. I already RSVP'd for both of us. It'll be perfect for content. You know, engaged couple at a destination wedding." She was already mentally planning her Instagram posts. I stood there processing this information. "When?" "Next month. I booked our flights already." "Well, I put them on hold. You need to pay for them by tomorrow." She said this like she was informing me about the weather forecast. The casual way she said it, like she was asking me to grab milk from the store, made my left eye twitch. I'd been putting in 60-hour weeks to keep up with wedding expenses, and now she wanted to drop another $2,000 on someone else's party. Can I even get those days off? You'll figure it out. You always do. She was already scrolling through resort photos, probably calculating how many outfit changes she'd need. "Allison, that's like $2,000. Just thrown away. For a weekend. We're already spending $42,000 on our own wedding." I gestured at the pile of vendor contracts on the kitchen counter, each one with my signature, my credit card number, my financial future. She finally looked up from her phone, rolling her eyes. "Alan, it's one weekend. Don't be such a baby about it. We're engaged. This is what couples do." Rachel and Mike went to 3 destination weddings last year. It's not about the weekend, it's about respect. You can't just make decisions for both of us and expect me to fund them. I could feel my blood pressure rising. This was the same pattern every time. She'd make plans, I'd object to the cost, she'd make me feel like I was being unreasonable. That's when she laughed. A full-throated, head-thrown-back laugh like I just told her the earth was flat. "Respect? Alan, what do you think? You're my only option. I could have had a ring from 3 other guys before you finally stepped up." She gestured at her phone like it was proof of her desirability. "Brad's been texting me for months. Tyler still slides into my DMs. I have choices." The words hit like a slap. This girl who hadn't paid for a phone bill in 2 years, who was wearing an engagement ring I'd gone into debt for, was standing there acting like she was running auditions for my replacement. "Definitely not," I said finally. She nodded, like that proved her point. "Exactly. So stop acting like I owe you explanations. I'm an independent woman, and after we're married, you better remember that. Independent woman who needed me to cover her half of the electric bill. But hey, Slay." She grabbed her purse, the $400 Michael Kors bag I'd bought her for her birthday, and slung it over her shoulder with dramatic flair. "I'm going to Jade's to work on wedding stuff. Figure out your attitude before I get back." The door slammed behind her hard enough to rattle the picture frames. Frames holding photos of trips I'd paid for, dinners I'd covered, moments I'd funded. I stood there looking around at the apartment I'd been paying for, filled with stuff I'd bought, wedding magazines I'd never read, and realized something important. This wasn't a loss. This was my get-out-of-jail-free card. Time to let her options clock in for their shift. Now let me tell you more about my buddy Cole. Guy's been my best friend since 6th grade, back when we convinced our substitute teacher that the class hamster was diabetic and needed emergency sugar packets. He's the kind of guy who can talk his way out of anything and has zero tolerance for drama. Guy's a welder and makes good money. He had this sweet 2-bedroom setup across town, washer and dryer in the unit, balcony with an actual view of the city skyline, parking that didn't require a degree in advanced mathematics. I'd been dragging my feet because change is hard and I'm lazy, but Allison basically handed me the motivation on a silver platter. That night I sent him a text. "Yo, I'm pulling the plug. Still want a roommate?" His response was immediate. "Bro, thought you'd never ask." Did she finally evolve into her final form? Or what? She said, "You think you're my only option? LM foul, bro." She thinks she's the main character in her own Netflix series. "When we moving you in?" "This weekend." "I'm going ghost." "Wedding's canceled." Holy shit. That's like $40,000 worth of deposits down the drain. Better than a lifetime of this bullshit. I'll stock the fridge with hot pockets and emotional detachment. Cole understood the assignment. He'd been watching this train wreck for 3 years, occasionally dropping hints that I was dating a financial vampire. The man had patience. I'll give him that. Friday morning came and Allison was at her job. The boutique opened at 10 a.m., which meant she'd be gone until at least 3 p.m., giving me a solid 5-hour window. Perfect for Operation Financial Independence. First order of business was her phone. She'd been on my family plan for 2 years because it's cheaper to bundle. Yeah, cheaper for her. I logged into my Verizon account and deleted her line like I was clearing browser history before a job interview. Felt that $85 monthly weight lift off my shoulders immediately. Next up, streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney+, Spotify Premium, all mine now. Changed all the passwords. She'd been the primary user on most of these accounts anyway, binge-watching reality TV while I was out making the money that paid for them. Then I called her gym, Planet Fitness on Riverside Drive. She'd been a member for 8 months and used it exactly twice, both times to film herself doing yoga poses for Instagram stories about Self-Care Sunday. The membership was $89 a month for the premium package because she needed access to the massage chairs. I canceled it. Car insurance was next. She'd been on my policy because dealing with insurance companies gives me anxiety. Growing up gives everyone anxiety, sweetheart. Removed her from my State Farm policy and watched my monthly premium drop by $150. Turns out insuring a 22-year-old with a speeding ticket is expensive. Who knew? Then came the wedding cancellation. I spent the entire morning on the phone with vendors, armed with a notebook and the kind of grim determination usually reserved for tax season. Venue first. Riverside Country Club, $8,500 deposit, non-refundable, but I had to try. The event coordinator, Patricia, actually sounded relieved. Honestly, Mr. Brown, you're the third cancellation this month. The economy has everyone nervous. No refund, but they waived the remaining balance. Catering was next. Anthony's Fine Dining, $12,000 deposit for 150 guests. The owner was surprisingly cool about it. Brother, you're dodging a bullet. I've seen too many guys go broke trying to impress people who don't even like them. He kept $4,000 for administrative costs, but refunded the rest. DJ was easy. A local guy. Kept $500, refunded $1,200, and actually thanked me for being honest instead of ghosting him. Photographer Sarah kept $1,000 out of $3,500, but seemed happy to get her September Saturday back. Florist was a nightmare. Some bougie place called Petals and Arrangements kept all $2,800, claiming they'd already ordered the flowers. Total scam, but I didn't have the energy to fight it. Most of the deposits were non-refundable, but I managed to get back about $8,200. Every phone call felt like lifting weights off my chest. Plus, it's still cheaper than divorce. The wedding dress was the best part. She'd put it on layaway at David's Bridal, a $2,100 monstrosity with enough beading to outfit a small army. She'd been making minimum payments while I covered the balance. I called them up, explained the situation, and got a full refund since she'd never actually taken possession. $3,000 back in my pocket just like that. Before I packed up my stuff, I did something petty but necessary. I printed out a high-resolution photo of myself holding a dry erase board with "Save the Date Never" written on it. I replaced the main mirror in her vanity setup with this picture and positioned her ring light so it would frame it perfectly when she turned it on. Then I took the engagement ring. It was sitting in its little velvet box on the dresser, probably worth more than my truck. Not to pawn it, that would have been tacky. But it was mine, bought with my money, and she wasn't getting a consolation prize for being terrible at relationships. By lunch, I'd moved everything out. The 75-inch Samsung TV I'd bought, my PlayStation 5 with the full game library, my Craftsman tool set, my home office desk, the $800 Keurig coffee machine she always called ours. Left behind all her Amazon boxes she refused to recycle, that weird feather lamp she said gave her creative energy, and about 40 wedding magazines that were now basically expensive toilet paper. One last touch, I'd been keeping receipts. Not just mentally, but actual receipts. Screenshots of every Venmo payment, every bill I'd covered, every wedding expense, every time she'd promised to pay me back. 3 years of financial martyrdom, all documented like I was preparing for an audit with the IRS. The folder was 2 inches thick. Saturday morning, I dropped my last box at Cole's place. He helped me carry it up, handed me a cold Bud Light, and said with perfect deadpan delivery, "So how's it feel to finally escape the financial Venus flytrap?" We fist bumped. He walked into the living room, flopped on the couch, and let out a loud, shameless fart that would make a trucker proud. She's gonna lose her mind when she finds out the wedding dress shop doesn't do payment plans for dresses that don't exist. We fired up the PlayStation and dove into some Call of Duty. Between matches, Cole looked over and said, "Now that you're free, can we agree your ex-fiance looked like she straightened her hair with a waffle iron?" I almost choked on my drink laughing. That's the thing nobody tells you about peace. Sometimes it doesn't come from meditation or self-help books. Sometimes it's just a cold drink, a controller, and your best friend roasting your ex while somewhere across town, a grown woman is screaming at her Wi-Fi router and wondering why David's Bridal is asking for payment in full Saturday night. Right on schedule, my phone started blowing up. Except it wasn't her number. It was Andrew's. Her brother, being used as a communication proxy like he was customer service for a dysfunctional relationship. Poor guy was probably sitting in his garage trying to work on a transmission while his sister had a full meltdown in the kitchen. The messages came in rapid-fire succession. "Netflix isn't working, you asshole. YTF is my phone off. Where is the TV? The wedding venue called Mom crying. You canceled our wedding without telling me. I swear to God. Alan, you better come back, Rin. I'm not paying for this apartment, a crazy meth. I'm calling the police. Where is my ring? Answer me, or I'm breaking your PS5, you forgot the charger." Each message was more unhinged than the last. I was laughing at each one. But before I could even respond, Cole snatched the phone out of my hands like it owed him money. He opened the camera, flipped it to selfie mode, and sent back a beautiful high-definition photo of himself, giving the middle finger while holding a Hot Pocket. Then he typed underneath, "Tell your landlord your options will be paying this month. Weddings off. Management." I was wheezing. This is why Cole's been my best friend for 15 years. About 10 minutes later, another text came through. This time actually from Andrew. "Bro, I don't even know how you dated her crazy ass for that long. My condolences." She's pacing around the kitchen like she's about to star in her own true crime documentary. Mom's having a full breakdown about telling the extended family. I texted back, "Respect to you for surviving the same house all these years." She keeps asking where the ring is. I told her you probably returned it to Mordor. Andrew had a twisted sense of humor. I appreciated that about him. Dad's hiding in the garage. Mom's calling everyone in the family tree. Allison's in full victim mode. It's like watching a nature documentary about suburban dysfunction. That night, I took some practical precautions. Changed the Wi-Fi password to independentwoman007, removed her from all shared accounts, and canceled her Amazon Prime access, just in case she thought she could use the Fire Stick to stream her way back to financial dependence. Then, I shit you not, she posted this on Instagram. Caption, "Sometimes you have to lose a man to find yourself. I'm finally free. Not all fairy tales have happy endings, but mine is just beginning. Healing. Sing leaf." The photo was her sitting on the couch I'd bought, wrapped in a blanket I'd paid for, holding a glass, crying while using a beauty filter. She turned our canceled wedding into a trailer for a Netflix documentary about suburban sadness. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. A bunch of her friends posting, "You're better off without him," and "his lost queen," without knowing any of the actual details. Classic social media echo chamber at its finest. But here's where it gets interesting. Enter Chloe. Now Chloe was one of those girls who hovers around every couple like a vulture. Never too close, never too far. Always ready with supportive comments on my posts. And you deserve better energy whenever Allison wasn't around? Classic pick-me behavior with a side of strategic positioning. Monday afternoon, I got a DM from her. "Hey, Alan. I don't want to cause drama, but I thought you deserved to know the truth. Allison's been awful to you for a long time. Some of us saw it. I'm just sorry it took this long. You dodged a bullet canceling that wedding." Then she drops the atomic bomb. Screenshots from their group chat. "Alan is so easy to manipulate. LOL, wedding planning is just an excuse to buy stuff. He thinks he's my fiance, but he's really just my ATM with a ring. I've got 3 guys lined up for after the honeymoon. He's so pathetic. Pays for everything and thinks I'm grateful, LOL. Can't wait to get his last name and half his stuff." But the real kicker? Screenshots of Allison texting some dude named Kevin. Full-on sexting. Talking trash about me. Making plans to visit him while I was out fixing her car battery in the driveway. She was literally cheating on me while planning our wedding. Probably using our shared Google Calendar to schedule her affairs. Chloe followed up with, "I always knew you were a real one. If you ever want to talk or hang out sometime, I'm here." I waited exactly 3 minutes, then replied, "Appreciate the info. Honestly, you're the only one who seemed to have any common sense in that whole circus." She sent back a heart emoji. Then I sent one more message. "Too bad loyalty's only useful after the ship sinks. Tell the others I said thanks for the entertainment. Peace." Blocked her immediately. Look, I'm not bitter. I'm just allergic to snakes trying to wear empathy as cologne. Cole saw the whole exchange and just shook his head. Damn, that girl's got the depth of a puddle in the desert. 3 weeks of blissful silence. I was working full days, hitting the gym with Cole, sleeping like a man who no longer had to worry about someone else's financial crisis. I'd picked up some overtime shifts. Life was good. Then I got the text. "Unknown number. Alan, it's Allison. I'm pregnant. We need to talk about the wedding." I stared at the message for a full 10 seconds, then started laughing. I texted back, "Congratulations. Who's the father?" Her response was immediate. "Are you kidding me? It's yours, obviously. I'm 8 weeks along. We need to get married before I show." Now, I'm not a doctor, but I am excellent at basic math. And according to my calculations, we hadn't done anything intimate since January. It was now May. Either she was carrying the longest pregnancy in human history, or she thought I was stupid enough to fall for this. We'd barely been in the same room for the last month of our relationship, let alone the same bed. 8 weeks? We broke up over a month ago. We haven't had sex since January. Well, maybe I'm 6 weeks. Still no. Okay, fine, 4 weeks. The point is we need to have a small ceremony. Just immediate family. I sat there watching this woman try to manipulate time itself through text messages. "Allison, physics doesn't bend because you're desperate." So I called her. She picked up on the first ring, voice all soft and trembling like she was auditioning for a soap opera about teenage pregnancy. "Alan, I know we had our problems, but this changes everything. We created a life together. Don't you want to do the right thing? Allison, whose baby is it really?" She snapped back into defensive mode faster than a mousetrap. "I told you, it's yours. I would never cheat. We're supposed to be married. Time to play my ace." Interesting. So Kevin doesn't exist? The silence was so long. Then, "Who's Kevin?" Not even a good lie. Just pure panic disguised as confusion. "Kevin, your side piece for the past year. The one you've been sexting while I planned our wedding. The one you were planning to visit while I was fixing your flat tire." I could hear her breathing getting shallow on the other end. More silence. I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting. "I don't know what you're talking about." Screenshots don't lie, Allison. Your girl Chloe flipped on you faster than a politician in an election year. She showed me everything. That's when she completely lost it. "With Chloe, what do you mean?" Component placement. "That bitch! Zrenia. Alan, that snake is just jealous and bitter. Kept screaming about Chloe being a fake friend, a jealous snake, a liar, and several other things that probably aren't in the dictionary. Full banshee mode. I had to hold the phone away from my ear. I hung up while she was mid-screech. 2 hours later, she called back. Different approach this time. Trembling voice, fake vulnerability. The whole performance. "Okay, the baby is yours. I did the math wrong before. We can have a small wedding. I'll pay for half. You did the math wrong on your own pregnancy. I was emotional. Look, I know you canceled everything, but we can still make this work. Vegas, maybe? Something small?" She was really committing to this performance. So now she was doubling down on the lie while admitting she'd been lying. The mental gymnastics were impressive. Let me get this straight. You cheated, got pregnant by another dude, and now you're trying to rush me into marriage because Kevin bailed? That's not... You're confusing me. I'm not confusing you. You're just terrible at lying. I'm not lying. I love you. I want to marry you. And yes, Kevin ghosted me. Please, Alan. Cool. Then take a paternity test. I will. Great. Don't call me until you have the results. I hung up again. She never called back. Funny how that works. A couple weeks passed. I was settling into my new routine. Work, gym, hanging with Cole, actually having money in my bank account at the end of the month. Life was good in that simple, drama-free way that makes you appreciate basic peace. I'd started picking up some side work on weekends, small crane jobs that paid cash. My savings account was looking healthier. Then Andrew called with an update from ground zero. According to him, Allison had gotten evicted from our old apartment after telling the landlord I'd forgotten to pay rent. She'd moved back in with her parents, dragging Kevin along for the ride. Yeah, Kevin. The same Kevin who'd supposedly ghosted her. Turns out she'd guilt-tripped him hard. Sent him novels about how I'd abandoned her during her pregnancy, how she needed a real man to step up, how I'd left her at the altar and destroyed her dreams. Kevin, apparently lacking both brain cells and self-respect, bought the whole sob story and showed up with a duffel bag ready to play house. Andrew said at family dinner, Kevin tried to explain how he was growing into his responsibility and that real men own their mistakes. The guy was 24, worked at a tire shop, and drove a 2011 Honda Civic with a bad muffler. Meanwhile, Allison was posting cryptic Facebook statuses next to blurry ultrasound photos, talking about new beginnings and unexpected blessings. The best part? Kevin had no idea about the timeline. He thought I'd left her mid-pregnancy, that I'd abandoned my own kid and canceled our wedding out of spite. Allison had spun the whole thing like a Lifetime movie about heartbreak and betrayal. Andrew told me, dude thinks he's riding in on a white horse to save the day. Andrew was just sitting back watching it all unfold like a nature documentary. I'm just here for the explosion, he told me. Well, he didn't have to wait long. That Saturday, Cole and I were having a perfect day. We just finished watching some UFC fights. Main event was a heavyweight brawl that ended with both guys unconscious on the canvas. We had burritos from this killer place down the street, apartment clean, life good. I was telling Cole about this new job site where we're building a 50-story residential tower, when someone started pounding on the door like they had a warrant and a grudge. Cole and I looked at each other. I opened the door. There they were. Kevin, puffed up like he'd been inflated with testosterone and stupidity, and Allison behind him, arms crossed, clearly pregnant, wearing full makeup like she was about to film a courtroom drama. Kevin stepped forward like he was about to deliver a monologue from a bad action movie. You think you can abandon a pregnant woman and walk away without consequences? You left her at the altar, man. I'm here to teach you a lesson. Man to man. Great. Bro watched a YouTube video of how to become an alpha in 3 steps and decided to make his move. Behind him, Allison actually started clapping. Not exaggerating, she was clapping like he just delivered a killer punchline at a comedy club. Show him, babe. Show him what a real man does when someone disrespects his woman. I stood there watching this whole performance, trying not to laugh. Kevin looked like he spent serious time in the gym, but had never been in an actual fight. Big arms, soft middle, and eyes that didn't match the energy coming out of his mouth. One of those guys who benches 315 but has never thrown a punch outside of a video game. He charged. Didn't say anything else, just launched himself forward like he thought I'd stand there and let him tackle me. But I've been working construction for 10 years, dealing with equipment malfunctions and emergency situations where a split-second delay can mean the difference between life and death. Quick reflexes come with the territory. I stepped aside, grabbed his shirt mid-lunge, and used his own momentum to send him face first into the concrete walkway. It wasn't even a fight, just physics and poor decision-making meeting at high speed. He hit the ground hard, making a sound like a deflating balloon mixed with wounded pride. Blood started trickling from his nose, and I could hear him whimpering about his ribs. Allison gasped like this was some shocking plot twist instead of the natural result of attacking someone on their own property. Then she snapped. Eyes wild, voice hitting frequencies that could shatter glass, she bolted toward my truck with something metallic in her hand. Looked like a key or maybe a screwdriver. Before I could react, Cole appeared like he'd been shot out of a cannon. Still chewing his burrito, he grabbed her by the elbow and yanked her away from my truck with reflexes I didn't know he possessed. Ma'am, this is a Nissan, he said, still mid-chew. Not your emotional support punching bag. Get the hell out of my way, Cole. Don't get between us. Lady, are you naturally that stupid, or do you have to practice sometimes? Jeez. She twisted and screeched, trying to break free. But Cole's got that deceptively strong grip that comes from years of welding and heavy lifting. Kevin stumbled to his feet, ego deflated, eyes watering from his concrete facial. I stepped forward, calm as a lake, and pointed directly at both of them. Take your pregnant disaster and get off my property before I call the cops and make this everyone's problem. Kevin didn't say a word, just nodded once and helped Allison shuffle toward his beat-up car like they were leaving the scene of a crime. The muffler was so loud it sounded like a chainsaw having an asthma attack. She was still yelling as they drove off, but I couldn't make out the words over the sound of his exhaust system. Cole and I stood there for a minute. Then he wiped his hands on his hoodie and said, bet that kid's first word is going to be unstable. An hour later, my phone lit up. Isabel, Allison's mom, in full meltdown mode. Walls of text about how I'd assaulted a pregnant woman and broke Kevin's rib and was going to jail for this. Also something about how I'd ruined her daughter's wedding dreams and destroyed the family's reputation. I didn't respond. Just screenshotted everything and called my lawyer. First thing Monday morning, I filed for a restraining order. Attached all the evidence. The texts, the pregnancy lies, the confrontation, Kevin's failed WWE audition, and just for good measure, copies of all the canceled wedding contracts showing I'd been the one paying for everything. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised. I was just done with the whole circus. A week after the restraining order got approved, Cole sent me a link with a message. Bro, you're gonna love this. It was a GoFundMe page. Title, pregnant, abandoned at the altar, and starting over, broken heart emoji. The description read like a script from a daytime soap opera, full of lies, manipulation, and vague threats about miscarriage if she didn't get enough donations. She was asking for money for doctor bills, relocation costs, emotional trauma support, and rebuilding after wedding disaster. She'd even posted a photo of herself in a wedding dress. Not the one I'd canceled, but some cheap knockoff from Amazon. The caption claimed it was, the dress I'll never get to wear because my ex-fiance abandoned me and our unborn child. Cole had already donated $1 with the comment, "Thoughts and prayers. Buy a clue." The page got reported and taken down within 48 hours. Apparently, GoFundMe has policies against fraud. Who knew? Kevin officially disappeared again 2 days later, deleted all his social media, blocked Allison, vanished like he should have done the first time. Andrew told me he overheard Allison screaming into her pillow, "He was my last option. I'll never find anyone else." The irony was beautiful. As for me, I kept building my life back up, picked up extra shifts at work, got a raise to $82,000 base, bought better tools. The new DeWalt impact driver I'd been wanting for months, a proper tool chest, some quality safety gear. Moved into a new place with my own garage and a view that didn't include a dumpster. Started seeing someone new. Completely different energy. Her name's Lexi. She's a mechanic, has her own shop called Lexi's Garage that specializes in diesel engines, drives a 1995 F-250, and can spot bullshit from 3 counties away. First time I told her the Allison saga, she said, "Your ex sounds like the type who'd cry in a mirror just to practice her victim face." When I mentioned the canceled wedding, she just laughed and said, "Best investment you ever made was not making that mistake permanent." I knew I liked her for a reason. We'd met at a job site where she was working on one of the contractor's trucks. She was elbow deep in an engine bay, covered in grease, cursing at a stubborn bolt like it owed her money. Then, like clockwork, another unknown number texted me. "You think replacing me makes you a man? You're pathetic. You're disgusting. You ruined my life." No name, but we all know who it was. I took a screenshot from my lawyer, added it to the restraining order file, and hit block. Didn't respond, didn't react, didn't care. Some people only exist in your life to teach you what not to tolerate. Allison was a 3-year masterclass in financial boundaries and red flag recognition. I learned the lesson, got the degree, graduated with honors. Life's good when you know your worth and don't sign legal documents binding you to crazy.